when the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality. Open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
Welcome back, book clubbers. We're dancing again. Oh, we're dancing again. So glad to have you with us. I'm Jeff Kanata. I'm here with Lana Bashinsky.
Hello. Here today, gone tomorrow.
Indeed, it's sort of a good news, bad news situation. Good news is we're back after a week off. Bad news is, I hate to even say it, I think we got 2 weeks off next. I'm so sorry. I know it's a little funky this time of year. We want to get into a rhythm. We're loving this book, Reaper's Gale. It's so fun. It's so exciting. And we're going to get into 2 chapters today. But after today, we have 2 weeks where we're not going to be able to be with you. Lana is going to Norway to do a talk.
I am going to Norway to do a talk. And so, good news, bad news, potentially good news. So if you are listening and you happen to be interested in games and live in Norway, I will be speaking at Console, KONSOLL, October 31st and 1st, or November 1st. But I don't know which those days, but one of those days I'm definitely talking about animation direction and R&D in video games. So come check it out if you are around.
So Lana will be in Norway doing awesome things. She'll be giving a talk. I'll be in Palm Springs having a soak. I'm going away a little bit too. Not as exciting, not as fun, but it's a little R&R for me. Anyway, the bad news for you, book clubbers, is we're going to have 2 weeks off. And we apologize, but such is the way it is. And we may have some weird, funky stuff after that with the holidays. Who knows? This book is going to be a little staccato in our coverage, but we're there. We're with you.
Yeah, just know that we feel the pain too, because we are only allowed to read 2 chapters for 2 weeks.
We have to stop.
If you want, you can do whatever you want.
That's right. Yeah.
We feel the pain too.
We feel the pain. Regardless of that, we're here this week, and we're going to do 2 chapters. Chapters 7 and 8, I want to say.
Those are the ones.
7 and 8 of Reaper's Gale. And hey, we're going to start the show with a fun, non-spoiler topic, because we like to do that in case you're not caught up with where we're reading. And we love getting those topics from you. Hey, 2 weeks, you have time to think of a fun topic or 2 to send us. You could always send those to dlcfeedback@gmail.com, or you can post them as a comment on the YouTube or in our Discord, which is 5x5 DLC on Discord, the book club section there. We got another one from our friend, our MVP of sending in topics at this point. We have to award MVP. TicklyGonad. Always coming through strong.
One and only.
Gotta love it. This is a great question. This came to us, dlcfeedback@gmail.com. TicklyGonad writes, "Good morning, book clubbers. It's so great having you back dancing. A week feels like a month when you don't drop an episode." Oh no, it's 2 months coming up. You've made it to, in my opinion, the best book of the series, and I'm really eager to share your enthusiasm and enjoyment of this book. I have a topic discussion for your spoiler-free section, and it is spoilers themselves. The Malazan fan community has been incredible with their support of the book club. We agree. Thank you, Malazan fan community. And I have been impressed with the care that is everyone has taken in avoiding spoilers. I love witnessing someone experience the same joy, excitement, or shock of a storyline I had the pleasure of. Although I understand the difficulty of inadvertently giving hints while in a discussion. I am extremely proud of myself for managing to keep the big reveals from Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic from my friends who had never played it. And the payoff, once they made their way through it, was absolutely worth it. My question is, do you have any experiences of keeping spoilers from friends, and how easy do you find it? What do you think, Lana? Spoilers,
I think, is like the easiest thing in the world to keep from friends. I would say I am possibly overly cautious about it because I felt like I was so traumatized by spoilers in my youth.
Ooh, now tell that story.
Well,
What happened?
just high school. I had now a very dear friend of mine, but at the time, somebody else in my high school who I would say begrudgingly let me spend time in the vicinity. It was like the video game crowd, and they were like a girl kind of. Anyway, but I was present, and I had to make special jackets for all of my books, even my paperbacks, because if they found out what I was reading, they would look up the ending and tell me every time.
What?
I
You were
would
hanging out with jerks.
never- You know, high school people. If that's the worst thing somebody's doing, it was, it was like turned it into a little game.
Wow.
Anyway, so I'm very cautious about spoilers, overly cautious. I don't like, which I know you can resonate. I don't want to know even anything about
Yeah.
a movie. I don't want to
Yeah.
know anything. I'd rather know literally nothing. It makes it challenging to like talk with people about what they're reading or watching or whatever, but I always just sort of let them drive the conversation rather than feel like I want to tell them all of my opinions about everything until it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People who know me from other podcasts are probably well aware of my aversion to spoilers. I call myself unsullied, which of course is a phrase stolen from Game of Thrones, but I love, as you suggested, the experience of going into something completely blind. Like all I know is the title. If you tell me this is an amazing experience and I trust you, I would love to go into it completely blind. And it's a little tricky for me because I happen to do a movie review podcast. And so it's a bit of a bone of contention with my co-hosts who give me a hard time sometimes about my desire to do that. Because I avoid trailers for movies, and they, well, at least one of them really loves trailers and wants to talk about them. And I'm like, I don't want to know, because I think trailers often reveal too much. So I am precious about my own spoiler aversion, and therefore really think about that when I'm interacting with other people too, especially if there's an experience that I really valued or was surprised by. In fact, I saw a movie last night that I am so curious what the discussion around it is. I saw it early. It's a movie called Conclave, which I think is probably going to be in the best picture discussion at the end of the year. It's very, very good. But there's some interesting reveals that happen in the course of that movie that really took me by surprise because I didn't know anything about it really. And I want to protect that for people. I feel very precious about that. But yeah, I mean, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to say, I mean, that really is it. Something that is going to enhance somebody's joy by not telling them. I have no problem not telling them. Something that will enhance somebody's joy by telling them. Oh, it's so difficult to keep that to myself. That's not usually spoilers, but I mean spoilers for like, oh, I bought somebody a gift or something.
Yeah.
I'm almost like, look what I got you, like immediately, because I'm just so excited about it. But spoilers, easiest thing in the world. Nothing.
Yeah.
Just talk about what they're talking about. Oh, that's great. What a cool character.
Yeah.
That was a great scene. End of conversation.
Well, and then you get the joy of after you've seen it, we can have the real deep dive discussion and we can really dig into it. But I like the first level of discussion being, you got to go see it. Don't look up anything. Just trust me. Go see it or read it or whatever it is. Experience it without any knowledge. That's one of my favorite recommendations for people is just trust me. Go to the movies or whatever it is, like watch the show or whatever. That is my favorite thing. And then we circle back and it's like, did you love it? And then half the time they're like, no. And I'm like, but you're hurting my soul because I loved it so much.
I think it's also great because even if somebody is like, ugh, I hated that thing.
Yeah.
I'm still going to make my own opinions. I've engaged with things that somebody hated, even though I might hate it too, as we've seen on this show. Sometimes I just love being like interesting, bad. Yeah.
But
I know that for me.
I love that about you. It's one of my favorite things about you, but you are very unique in that. most people aren't like, I hated it. And this was awesome that I got to experience that.
Have you seen Aquaman 1? Let me tell you, what a terrible joy.
Yeah. I wish more people could just enjoy the pain, I guess. Anyway, great question, TicklyGonad. Thank you. Keep them coming. All of you guys, wonderful. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we love having the questions that we would never come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump in. Spoilers starting now for Reaper's Gale, chapter 7 and 8. Chapter 7 starts on the bay in Letheras with Jan Tovis and Terralak Veed on the boat bringing Ikariam and all the folks to fight Rhulad, the emperor. They're still on their way, still going. And they now can see the city from the boat. And they talk about what they're going to expect. And Terralak Veed is like, just don't worry. Ikariam's definitely going to murder your emperor. Don't even stress. And in fact, your emperor's probably going to die one way or the other because that's just how it is. Gods abandon their chosen ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Jan Tovis is basically nails the whole betrayal of Tribon Knoll. She's like, yeah, Tribon Knoll schemed to poison the king Diskanar as Gara.
Yeah. But
yeah.
So does that imply that the king didn't know that was poison, or that he manipulated him into being like, if things go south, king, you're going to drink this poison?
That's a good question, because it did seem like the king, I didn't really think about that, but you're right. I think the king kind of knew he was committing suicide because it was an untenable situation for him. It was Brice Benedict that didn't know also to drink, which was just, don't drink someone else's beverage, Brice. Come on.
Yeah. Did you see him open that? Yeah.
Just
Didn't think so.
A good idea.
Stay safe.
Put something over the top.
Well, yeah, get a coaster on the throne.
So then the next scene is we're in the POV of the errant again. I like that. I like it when we're in the POV of gods. It's kind of cool.
Yes,
just in general.
I agree. POV of gods, especially because their perspectives are so, it is like such a unique flavor. And his is, of course, in this scene as well. Yeah,
I think in these two chapters, or at least maybe just in this one chapter, we have the errant's POV, we have Bugg's POV, who we know is male, the elder god, and we have our buddy Dancer. What's his
Cotillion?
Cotillion, yeah. So we have three god POVs. Anyway, the errant is kind of thinking about stuff, and he's like, this is hanging out, looking at this the ships coming in from the harbor. Nothing real. Oh, what is that guy coming off the boat? One of my favorite things about this chapter is Ikariam makes a friggin' arrival. You know what I'm saying? Man. He hits land hard.
This whole thing is fascinating. There's a couple things that I think are fascinating. I'll stick with I'll talk about Ikariam's arrival in a moment, but like the errant's reaction to him, always that reaction of somebody that we know is powerful seeing somebody else we know is powerful, and try to like get a scale for like their fear level based the other person's level. Very interesting. But something I thought was interesting as well was him talking about sort of a loss of power, him being like, I would have sensed this a long time ago.
Right.
And being a god, you know, one of the things we've heard talked about in the books is like, if gods don't have anybody praying to them, what are they? Nothing.
Right.
They become forgotten. We have people always talking about the errant. I think it's all the Adur being like,
errant, take me,
or whatever.
By the errant's blessing, all that stuff. Yeah.
But are they actually praying to him, or has his name just become a curse? Because of what we know about like gods and their power, interesting that he feels like he has less. Is he truly like aging? Like that seemed like a little hint at like some kind of thread that I want to pull at, but I don't know what's over there.
I would guess that it has something to do with a force that is diminishing him. That may be mysterious at this point, but he looks over at Yontovis and is like, there's a fate with her. There's some sort of ominous thing with her specifically, not even Ikariam yet, right? Which I thought was interesting because we don't really know anything about Yontovis per se.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And he's like, I should have felt this. And he says, I haven't felt this weak since the Telanimos toppled the First Empire.
Yes. So just very, very interesting.
Yeah.
That was fascinating.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he thinks he sees Ikariam and he knows exactly who he is. He knows he's Gothos' son. And as soon as Ikariam like steps off the boat, a freaking earthquake happens. It's just the coolest. Yeah, it's just the coolest. Like the literal earth moves when this dude shows up at your door. It's such a cool way to describe how big a deal he is.
Yeah. So an earthquake big enough to topple one of the buildings in the city.
Yeah.
And I think it's somewhere in the next scene that somebody is like, I mean, earthquakes happen. You've felt an earthquake before. And they're like, yeah, but like not here. There's never one here.
Yeah.
And so they're like, the very earth remembered him. The ground itself remembered him. He's
So
been
rad.
here before. Ooh,
So
it
rad. And
knew.
it shivered it freaked out that he's back. It's so awesome.
It also is giving me like for this is the other thing I found interesting. Ikariam being like our sweet summer hero bathing in the pools and tossing his hair.
Yeah.
I mean, he giving me like he got villain energy coming through this place. Ooh,
it's very ominous, right? Yeah. It's pretty awesome how all the gods are like, what? Who's somebody here? What? My god sense is tingling, you know? Yeah.
And can't the errant see the nameless ones like magic around him or something? Somebody can.
I don't remember reading that part.
Oh no. That's about the next
That's
one.
about Karsa Orlan,
Karsa.
right?
Yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, so we kind of pop back over to Terralak Veed and he comes up to Ikariam and he's like, hey, so the earth moved, and he's like, yeah, the city remembers me, just all the stuff we've been talking about. And this like Amtos Falak, the ice that his father like froze the city. A lot of the detail of that revealed in these chapters. And now Terralak Veed is like, I'm gonna die. Everyone here is gonna die, including me. We're all dead.
Except for one person who's like, do you think 30 miles is far enough? Or
He's like, I don't know. He's gonna F some S up, and I don't know how far away we need to go.
Yeah, isn't this the city that has from the Seda some kind of giant shadow demon ice trapped below the castle?
Ice trapped, yeah.
Interesting.
Ice trapped, and all that ice feels like it's gonna shatter.
Oh.
Yeah. So then we hop over to the aforementioned Karsa Orlan, who's just, passing time, snapping rat necks, as one does.
A classic boats boy kind of activity.
Yeah. Just snippity snap rats. And he's hanging out with Samar Dev still. And they're transporting like really weird stuff. Spiced human blood, the conch shell throne of the Sechck.
As one does.
Every
time I'm on a boat trip, if I don't have a little spiced human blood,
you do not want to see me before I've had my spiced human blood in the morning.
Yeah, but first.
So there's this interesting discussion of the spirits that are sort of chained to Karsa, part of which were attached to him when he lit the candles in Samar Dev's house, which is like just got some more spirits released and attached to him. And Samar can also see his old Tarthanol buddies, Bayroth Guild and Delum Thord, who of course we know very, very well. And
fascinating. But Samar's like, and you have these two. He's like, but these two aren't chained to me. They want to be here. They're like my buddies. They're
like
here.
my buds. Yeah.
But I don't know the truth between those two things. Is Samar just seeing that as two other things? Is Karsa delusional into being like, they love the sword? Or what?
I get the impression that he is being accurate, because didn't we have situations where they're like advising him and helping him and kind of rooting for him?
True.
Yeah. Trying to, guide him to be a better man, a better barbarian. And then he's like, I want my horse and I want off this boat.
But he's like, the little activities that he's doing, like he's got these rats. He has snapped his neck. Samar does just keep talking and talking and talking. And he's like, shut up. But then he like gets up and he grabs the dead rat. And I feel like it's like something I would do to mess with a friend, being like, hey, open your hands, check this out. And putting something weird in it. And they go to the captain. He's like, hey, where's my horse? Here you go. And they're like,
have the rat. Give me my horse. The captain's like, whatever you say, I'm not going to win. But then the guards show up and he's like, just as my son, my 8-year-old son would say, he yeets the guard real hard.
He does.
He's just like, whoop. And the guy's like, ah. And then he punches the other one in the face. And he's like, listen, let's be civil.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to fight. I just want my horse.
Just give me my horse and get me off this dumb boat. Very funny. Then we cut over to Bugg, who also is like, somebody is here. And it's changing what's that Dwayne Johnson line? The hierarchy of the DC universe is about to change. Of course, that didn't happen. But anyway, but yes, he realizes that Akarium has made landfall, and he knows it's Akarium too. He remembers Gothos going into the Azath house, and he has this weird recitation of. It's very funny to me. This guy, this servant dude, is standing next to him, and Bugg is like. And then he went into the Azath house, and then he used all the power that was available to him. And the guy's like, "Are you okay, pal?"
And he's like, "Huh?" And he's like, "You see, a building fell down." And he's like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, somebody died. The cat." And the guy's like, like very strange little
classic cat joke.
Classic cat joke. Cat as person.
Only one thing died. A cat.
Wasn't he like, did he call it a casualty? One
fatality. He's like, there was one fatality. It was a cat. I'm like, that's still kind of sad.
I know. I thought the other sort of swing of that joke was going to be Bugg being like, dinner.
I know. I actually thought that too. Yeah. I thought he was going to be like, ooh, can we get it? But yeah. It's the whole thrust of the joke is like, because nobody cares about cats. And it's like very funny. Anyway, so then we continue on with Bugg. He goes over to the Hivenar terrace, and Hivenar has several of the artifacts they pulled out of this place. And this is a really cool moment where we kind of get a little more insight into this is the moment where he has the memory. It wasn't that servant. He has the memory of the aerosol, where he's like, there was an aerosol couple, and they and the baby died, and then the father carried it around for weeks and until it died, and the guy's like, what? Hivenar's like, do you need like a beverage or something? Are you okay? Very funny. But yeah, there's like this weird story about this aerosol couple, and it's very harrowing. The woman dies in childbirth, and then this like primitive man has a baby, and he doesn't have any way to feed it. And he just walks around with it in his arms until it dies. I was like, oh, it's horrible. It's truly horrible. But the more interesting thing is that they've been finding these artifacts, as we know, these kind of weird bent at right angle things. And the guy's like, yeah, I don't understand. They don't fit together. I've been trying to fit them together. They don't fit together. It's like we're missing a piece. And Bug's like, hey, well, first of all, you're going to notice that this little one is the same exact thing as the big one. It's like a miniature version. And also, the reason you can't fit them together is because there isn't a piece. It's energy.
It's an energy piece. Yeah.
Piece. And he's like, and someone's bringing the energy that has yet to arrive, he says.
Which I thought was interesting because we were like, that's an Akarium clock.
Well, is Akarium bringing the energy? Is he bringing that big D energy?
Yo, that big timepiece energy. Great question. I would have thought that like that would just be part of building it, but maybe, I mean,
I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
I guess not.
So then Bugg leaves and he encounters these two jerkwad guards. We're like, hey, don't bump into me, buddy. You know who I am? I'm a guard. And Bugg is like, do I murder these guys or what do I do?
Well, yeah, they're like the guards, but they're specifically like Karos and Vic Dad's jerk patrol or whatever.
Yeah, patriotists.
They're like, oh, looks like you bumped into the wrong fellas tonight, fella. And they're in Bug's like, oh no.
I think the funniest part is they're like, you know what? Just because you said that, you're gonna get a drowning. And he's like, I'm the god of the sea, bucko. Drowning, hilarious. Hilarious. And then he like sends them to meet something bigger and meaner. And then he's like, did anybody see me mess those guys up?
I also like that he's like, was that an overreaction? I'll think about that later.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I was kind of feeling annoyed today.
Didn't have my spiced human blood.
That's right. All right. So then we check in with the Feather Witch of all people. Yeah. Feather Witch POV. Mm-hmm. And she's been up to stuff. She's been busy. She's been a busy little Feather Witch.
Busy little Feather Witch, and still just as angy.
Yeah. Yeah. She's harboring some resentments. And has been creeping around in the creepy crypts underneath the old palace. She's got all kinds of stuff down there. Stuff that she can last for weeks, just living it up.
Mm-hmm.
And she's thinking about all the different peoples that are coming into town, and all the different challengers that are potentially going to try to kill Rhulad. Like they've just been cobbling together the toughest folks they could find from all over the seas.
I think that's interesting that she was there though, because wasn't she there when they sort of ran into Karsa in the first place?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so I guess, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know how she got back or where she is or whatever.
Good point. That's confusing.
And she was definitely in the crypts though, because she gets visited by that Chumbawamba. What's his name? Hanan Mosag.
Yes, that's right. So, Hanan Mosag. Yeah.
Because I'd be like, oh, maybe that was the boat, but it wasn't. He's like, I don't know.
Maybe they left earlier than Karsa did.
Well, because Karsa, I guess, had to figure out how to get his horse on board or something. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that she was like there versus on the boat with them.
It is interesting. But basically she's thinking about all the folks that are coming into town to try to kill the emperor. And then she's down in this sort of they got all this reading material. There's all these scrolls and stuff down there. All of the stuff from the Letheria Empire, and it's written in a very old script that she can't even make out because it's kind of like outdated. And it's basically kind of all the way back to the First Empire stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're right. Then Hanan Mosag shows up,
and she's like, "Gross."
Yeah. He's like, "I want to team up," and she's like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do that
with you." Ugh.
Yeah. He's like, "No, you got me all wrong." She's like, you treated the Letheria slaves all bad. He's like, no. I want everybody to be free. That was my whole plan, was like unify all the peoples, and then we're all gonna live in harmony and dance. It'll be great.
And she's like, you're being manipulated by the crippled god. And he's like so messed up. And he's like, I got him right where I want him.
Yeah. It's so true.
All right. Sure, bucko.
Who's manipulating who? Like, I think I have it right, actually. She's like, well, what are you even going to do? And he's like, I'm going to take down Rhulad using his own family. And she's like, his whole family's dead. He's like, oh. And she's like, Bananas confirmed dead by a dream. Troll Sengar dead, chained to the nascent. Can't. No way anybody could escape from that.
Yeah, and
Fear. Run all off. We got nothing.
His dad's basically dead. He's dead to him. Dead to Rhulad. So like, what impact is he gonna have?
And Hanan Mosaga is like, no, you don't understand. And I got the impression that somehow Hanan Mosag knows that Troll is alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And free. Yeah. And Featherwitch is like, all right, let's team up.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about you, but I trust this.
I like the cut of your jib.
Yeah.
And by cut of your jib, I mean real crooked.
Yeah. But Featherwitch clearly isn't just like, I trust you. It's like, clearly she's like, I see a way to also manipulate you or like work with you to get to my ends, which is.
Yes. Well, I think she's motivated by this deep-seated resentment and quest for revenge, and I feel like she's having a real heel turn here as well. She's like, she's turning to the dark side. If she wasn't there already, she's
always been a little bit in that space, but certainly more so now than ever.
Then we hop over to Nisal in the throne room with Rhulad, and things are just going great. Tribon Knoll is there, continuing to manipulate Rhulad. He's like, Benatas, your brother, is dead. And guess what? His killer's coming to try to kill you. So isn't that good? Isn't that great? You're going to get to kill the killer of your brother.
Mm-hmm.
And Rhulad is like, no, my dad is bringing him here because he killed my brother, so he thinks he can kill me. My dad hates me.
Mm-hmm. And then Rhulad being like, nobody comes to see me. Nobody wants to talk to me. But like, we know that it's like Karos' master plan to like
keep people away.
Like intentionally only send people from Letheras so that Rhulad feels isolated.
Right.
And interesting.
And he also Tribon Knoll, it kind of is incepting the idea that there's a traitor in his midst as well, an Idur traitor.
Mm-hmm.
And Rulad's like, get out of here. I don't want to talk to you anymore. And he's like, Nisal, should I bring him back? Was he right?
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And Nisal, being very sweet and supportive, is trying to help him out and be like, oh, Bruthen Tranana has been trying to get in here. Has been trying to.
He's at the doors going, try, no.
He and your dad have been trying to get in here and talk to you, and it's these guys that have been preventing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's Tribon Knoll and Karos Invictad that are stopping this from happening. And Rhulad's like, I don't know if I believe you.
I love Rhulad's dialogue through the end of this scene, from like his obviously like just extremes of like rage to the softness that he genuinely has for Nisal, to her being the person who's actually being honest, and like her relationship, she's like knows sort of his boundaries, where she like gives him like a soft little touch, but then like keeps her hands away, and then he turns on her when she suggests this, and no longer like he goes from being like get out of my sight, whore, you stink, go take a bath, to like in the same sentence being like, and tuck into the golden sheets, like I want you waiting for me under silks. And
Yeah.
then him being like, my love, you're the most beautiful pearl among the sheets.
It's real creepy though.
Ew, absolutely. But like
Yeah.
the obvious, like the conflict within him is not even like scene by scene, sweetness, anger, sweetness, anger.
Right.
It's like in the same sentence, like,
Yeah.
I hate you. You disgust me. I love you. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's like
It really illustrates his madness and his like
Yes.
descent into utter chaos. You know,
Yeah.
he's completely disconnected to anything that would ground him. He's just adrift and like feels assaulted on all sides, and he's kind of spinning into this crazy place, and which I think is exactly what the crippled god wants, right?
Yeah. And what Karos wants. I mean, that it's that instability that makes him is the greatest vulnerability, is Rhulad himself. Yeah. I just thought it was very, I mean, unlike everything else, so well written.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. So then we head over to exactly what she was talking about. We get an illustration of exactly what she was talking about with Bruthen, Trana, and Tomad. And Bruthen's like, Tomad, buddy, I'm trying to get in there. I know you're trying to get in there to talk to him. You know what we need to do is we need to use Nisal. She's our only thing on the inside. She's on our team. Let's work together. And Tomad's like, I don't trust you, buddy. I don't trust her. I don't trust you. I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's hurt. Everybody's hurting. Nobody's seeing clearly.
Yeah.
But Bruthen seems like a bro.
I do think Bruthen is like, I do think Bruthen has sort of noble intentions, or is trying to pull the country out of downward spiral. But we'll see. Who knows if that's actually true? But it does seem like his intentions are pretty good.
It's interesting that they even, I mean, that's the other interesting thing about this dynamic of, they're the conquerors, but they are like following.
Yeah.
They're like
the Letheras are still
bureaucracy.
In control in a weird way.
I'm like, why don't you just go kick the door down? Aren't you like way bigger than them? And technically like their leaders in a way, just smack those dudes aside.
But I think that's kind of part of the plan here, is to make the Adur, to the Emperor, make the Adur seem like the bigger threat.
Yeah.
Like his own people are against him. His own people, there's a traitor. It's like the Letheri are sort of managing to, even as a conquered people, they're managing to sort of assert their will, which I think is a really fascinating turn of events.
Adur are like infinitely more respectful than the Letheri ever would have been. Like, I think they were trying to be like, we're doing to Letheras what Letheras did to others, which is like rule them and now own them. So it's like, it's not we're wiping them all out, but we're dominating them.
Yeah.
But it's like, but Letheras did wipe people out.
Yeah.
They just also did this. They learned over time. And it's just interesting little intertwinings.
And overthrowing the king, like splintered off all these different groups that are now in. I mean, it very much reminds me of what happened when the United States came in and took out Saddam Hussein, right? It's like Iraq became even more fractured and chaotic and turbulent, and we were there trying to control everything. We're like, hey, we're the nice guys. And it's like, no, this undercurrent of, it has very strong resonance for me for that period of history. Anyway, so we head over to Karos Invictad, who's still trying to work on this bug puzzle. He can't quite get it.
The two-headed insect puzzle.
Yeah. Yes. And Tanal's like, maybe there's no solution because you're the most brilliant person. And if you can't figure it out, he's like, stop being such a lick spittle. Sycophantic jerk. I don't respect you.
That you know what? There's never going to be an answer for you. You know why? You're stupid. But my brains are so large. There's an answer.
You're right. I'm smart. You're not, because you said I was. What? And then Karos is like, here's the thing. The time for you to set Janal Anar free is gone. We can't set her free anymore. You screwed that up,
Mm-hmm.
dummy dum-dum. And I need you to murder Nisal. So, or you can capture her and do all your awful things to her. Instead, you got to off the scholar.
Make her disappear specifically.
Yeah, make her disappear. Right.
Yeah.
And then take Nisal and do whatever you want to her. But we're gonna kind of drum up some false accusations about Nisal and turn her against the Emperor as well, or at least make him think that she's a
spy, manipulating him. Yeah.
Well, the next scene we realize Tanal Yathvanar doesn't want to do that because he is a real sicko.
So gross. So gross. And over the course of his torture, he's like, I'm actually in love with her, and how dare he suggest that I be with this other woman who's disgusting, used by king and over king. Gross. Meanwhile, I, pure of heart, am obviously in love with this woman.
And we're going to run away together.
Who will love me. Ugh.
We're going to run. I'll go. I know what I'll do. I'll go down. I'll set her free, and then we'll run away and we'll start a new life together. Yeah. And I just love the twisted, disgusting logic of it. His like warped mind believes that's a possibility.
The things that before he'd like hit her and he'd be like, I did this because you clearly must love when I do this.
Yeah.
Because you run your mouth.
Yeah.
And then how that twists into, I think she does like, there is love there at all.
Yeah.
And that's why she's haunting my thoughts, is I'm actually in love with her. And I think that she will learn to love me. It's just like the creepiest, grossest through line. Ugh.
It's such great like serial killer mentality, it's really good.
Yeah.
So he comes down there and he's like, babe, honey, I'm here to set you free. And she's like, oh, you're going to murder me. You're finally going to kill me off. Well, fine. I pooped myself. I should have waited and pooped on you.
Yeah. He unchains her. She passes out immediately from the pain.
Yeah.
Falls down, and her ankles are shackled up too. So she my stomach just turned over thinking about it. She collapses such that her ankles almost snap immediately because they're still in the fetters around her ankles.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then he carries her away down into the crypt area.
And it talks about how light she is because she's been like wasting away, not eating, and her body's all shriveled, and the blood and scars of her wrist are trying to pull herself out, like futilely trying to get herself. It's just so heart-wrenching.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
And then he finds this other space in the crypt that's like where they've been putting all the bodies that have been disappearing, is these caverns.
They're like wells, right?
Yeah. Under the castle. Yeah. And they're just full of bodies now. Just full of bodies. Real cool stuff. And he finds a little space between some corpses, and that also has a shackle and chains her up there. But at least she's not hanging off a wall.
There's that line where he's like, don't worry, you won't end up like these guys on either side of you.
Yeah.
Like his like warped mind is so foul.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we have the most amazing moment.
He leaves and he's like, BRB.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Leaves.
I won't be gone long, my love.
Ew. And then a wonderful guy comes and swoops her away and unlocks the thing. We got Bugg to the rescue, baby.
Bugg to the rescue. I love how he like effortlessly just peels back the shackle, just bends the metal, no problem. Awesome. And picks her up, and he's like, he's thinking about how awful this is and how awful all the patriotists are, and he's like, maybe I should just go full elder god and wipe these dudes out. And then he's like, well, that would bring all kinds of unwanted attention and it would just make things worse and more complicated. Can't do that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Do I use all my godly powers to stop this? I don't think I do. Honestly, resonant with the idea of a god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he's like, we're going to have to get rid of this Karos Infectad guy.
Yes.
That's for certain.
Mm-hmm.
Then we cut over to Tahal and Ublala Pung having a hilarious discussion.
Classic. I know we commented on it before, but I just love that I know that it's a Tahal scene.
Yeah.
Instantaneously.
So wonderful.
There's always like the back and forth of the dialogue. I think almost every scene goes back and forth with like a just snappy dialogue, beat after beat after beat.
So fun.
Great.
And this particular one is, he's like, "What are you? Is Sechck back? Is that why you're here?" He's like, "If she was here, would I be back? No, I'd be betting her the whole time." And
well, he was with her, I guess, and then he's like, "No, she's gone again." Is Sechck around with you? Sechck's gone. Sechck's back on the boat. He was on the boat, and he was like, I was too large, and I had to sleep on the deck because there's no room for me. And so everybody made fun of me and joked about using me as a sail, and so I was pretty sad and pretty cold. So Sechck went on without me, and I'm here.
I have a question about the sail thing. Is that a dick joke?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay. I just want to make sure. Very funny.
That's his whole thing. He's like so large.
I know, but you could imagine it being tied to his body, and I thought, no, it's the pole. Yeah.
That's the mast.
Yeah. Fair.
Great.
Glad I wasn't misreading that. So he's like, oh, guess what else? There's a full-blooded Tarthanol that just showed up on the island, and Tahal's like, oh yeah, full-blooded Tarthanol. He's like, no, you don't get it. Like the fullest of full blood, like they don't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if any of my other Tarthanol buddies hear about this, they're going to literally worship him as a god.
Yeah. He's one who's worthy of worship. Not like, hey, here's us worshiping you so you don't, be bad boys. This is like, he worthy.
He worthy. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, guess what else? When he landed, an entire house fell down. He's like, And then Bugg shows up with Jonathan R. And I would say Tahal makes a very inappropriate joke. It's like, hey, don't put her in the kettle. We're not that hungry. And I was like,
no, he
read the room, Tahal. Read the room.
He doesn't even say we're not that hungry. He says, well, this is not like the pot's not big enough. It's not even like, well, and then he goes on to be like, and also I guess we shouldn't eat her. But like the first joke is like, well, there's just not quite enough room in the soup. Well, also we shouldn't eat people.
Yeah. Also, it's like the image I have of how horrendous she looks is just like, not the time for joke. Listen, I love an inappropriate joke, Tahal. I do. Now is not the time, my friend. Yeah. Now is not the time. I love.
And then he's like, we shouldn't eat her. We shouldn't eat her. We shouldn't eat scholars. And they're like, you know her? You looked at her, recognized her, and said, there's not quite enough room.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah. She, like all the boys had crushes on her when we were kids and at school. He's like, it's just more inappropriate now.
It doesn't get better the more you talk.
Yeah. And then there's that funny moment, but we left out the part where he's like, the next time you see Bugg, I need you to just smack him in the head because he doesn't listen to me. And Ublala like, oh, here's Bugg. And he smacks him in the head. Very funny.
Very good.
Yeah.
Ublala, and he's like, what? You said? And it's very interesting, just Ublala being just like a sweet little dummy. Just too literal, little buddy.
Just a big lunkhead.
Yeah.
Real lunkhead. And yeah, he's like, but I like how Tahal at this point knows that Bugg is an elder god and is still, still acting this way. It's very funny.
He's rising above his station.
Yeah. And then there's that funny bit to end the scene where he's like, they're going to do a manhunt to find her. And he's like, idiots. Manhunt. She's not a man.
Dum-dums. I would never do a manhunt. To find a woman? No.
Never going to find a woman doing a manhunt. All right. That's the end of chapter 7. Chapter 8. We begin with Cotillion. And he's hanging out with Quick Ben. And this is where the folks that were defending the first throne are.
Mm-hmm.
And Quick Ben's like, hey man, I would love to leave. I want to leave. I want to go home. Can I go home? He's like, use your Warren. You like Mr. Warrens. You got so many Warrens. Just use a Warren. And Quick Ben's like, see, I don't know where I'll pop out. I might pop out in the middle of the sea. We're moving, right? We're moving. And Cotilion's like, yeah, you're right. We're moving.
I love Cotillion like, oh, I guess if you're not good enough.
He's like, I guess I could let you use those fixed gates that I have access to, I guess. And and Quippen's like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, the Shadow Warren usurped the original Rhulad Emerlon Warren. He's like, what's going on there? Is the Azath like, is it some sort of
they talk about it like usurping, but then it's like
an immune system, right?
Well, they talk about usurping, and people are always like, yeah, like it's a bad thing. But then Cotillion's like, yeah, it was like fractured and dying, and they're like,
it was healing it.
The Azath, blah blah blah, did like you used it, and he's like, yeah, because it was dying. And then Quickben's like, does that mean it's like actively helping it? Is it more like the Azath came in like a scab and it's actually healing the fact that this was splintered? And Cotillion's like,
yeah, that's what he basically says.
Great questions. And then he's like, Quickman says, like, can I have the answers? And he's like, answers to what? And he's like, okay, well, if you're not gonna like answer, let me ask Shadowthrone. Oh no, he goes, you should ask Shadowthrone. He goes, let me ask him then. He goes, okay. And like, we summon
like,
Shadowthrone.
Shadowthrone!
Yeah.
And Shadowthrone's like, yeah, he's right. It was the rooster died of grief. He just leaves.
Because they're in this warren, and there's like a long house there. Troll got like some sick ass cape from it, and there is random livestock, but there was a rooster, but it died immediately, I guess, because
it died because there's no morning to crow about. It's just constant night. And so the rooster's like, why do I even live if I can't cook-a-doodle-doo in the morning?
Yeah. Oh. So
and I just love that Shadowthrone shows up and he's just like, double middles. He's like,
I love that he does it, especially because it's like, it implies, I don't think Quickman ever like truly, he kind of asked the question, but then the answer he gave, I guess he was just listening to everything else. He's like, okay, what question? What are you going to ask?
He's like, is Cotillion right? He's like, yes. It's like that scene in
about
Ghostbusters. The scene in Ghostbusters. Is this correct? Yes, this man has no dick. Dickless over here. He's like, is that right? Yes, this man has no dick. Anyway. It's a great scene in Ghostbusters if you don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I just love how Shadowthrone is always just the biggest jerk. Just the biggest trolling, you're going to bother me? I'm not even going to help.
But the whole thing even just makes it more interesting that he didn't want to get close to the Azath house to like make sure Kalam got inside.
Yeah. Well, there's like this interesting
Azath house to like usurp / heal / whatever they've done in this Shadow Warren to like fuse the two of these things together that now actually aren't, it's not like one layered on the other. They are together. They are one is what I can tell from this. It's like they really have merged, bonded. It's not finished, I guess, over there, whatever it is that we're talking about in the scene. But having that connection and having used the Azath house to like sort of establish this, being like dropping Kalam nearby and being and like watching from outside makes me be like, wow, what? This a complicated relationship with these Azath.
Well, there's this literally this kind of mysterious dangling thread where Quick Ben is like, Shadowthrone saved his life, right? By putting him in the dead house. And Cotillion's like, yeah. Be glad I didn't tell you the real reason. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Why?
So yeah, there's real dun 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 happening there. And then we have this moment with Troll and Onrak where Cotillion's like, those guys are just such great buddies. Like, isn't it an unlikely friendship? Isn't that they're just like the buddiest of buddies?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Look
is
at that duo.
adorable. And they're just staring out at this lake, and he walks over, and they're like, "Hey, quick question: that lake doesn't exist, right?" He's like, "Yep, does not exist."
Well, he says something like, it's a lake, but there's not another side.
Yeah.
So they're on it, but then the other side
He said is unresolved.
Yeah.
Which is a cool word, I think, to explain that.
And then it's interesting because, like, he basically is like, now you're on a mission. And I'm kind of like, do they worship you? Can you just send people on missions? Yeah,
He's
you
like,
there. I've got a mission for you. It's like, I don't know you. No. Like,
he's like, you want to find out what's on the other side of that? Yeah. You got to go find out.
well,
It's,
like,
but
it's
why don't you
kind
just
of
tell
that.
me? It's like, if I tell you, that will influence what you find out.
But it's not phrased as like an invitation. He says like you have to find out this. All those things are true. But he is like, anyway, if that works out well, that you're curious because that is where you're going.
Right.
He like
yeah.
sends them.
Yeah.
Which
that's
I'm like,
true. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we're gonna find out what the deal is with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because now they have a mission.
Yeah.
And then we head over to the Undying Gratitude, Shirk's boat. And she's like, which direction should I go? They're trying to outrun this ice storm, basically.
Yeah. Apparently they were sailing this way because they were like trying to get lose some other ships, but then this ice storm started happening and they're like to me it sounds like they're trying to thread the needle to get into this other sort of bay that I guess Shirk knows is there.
Yeah.
The thing about this ice storm and like these ice flows, I guess I don't know where in the world they are. It's not clear where the ice came from. They're all like, what the heck is this?
Right. But they were sort of at the Reach heading toward Lether. And she's like, we're going to go to Lether. You know what? Actually, we're not going to go to Lether. We're going to go to this the second maiden fort, which is this like penal colony, basically, that was taken over by the inmates.
Yes.
Yeah. There's like
and it's like generational, and then they're like an uprising.
Upright. Yeah.
Do we think that the ice storm came after the earthquake from Icarium? Would it have like shaken something loose? And
I did not get that connection.
Daddy
I think that there's some
magic, or
there's something going on with it's Omtos Falak.
Yeah, but I assume all the ice in this region. My heart says that's all Gothos magic from yesteryear.
I agree, because we find out we're going to talk what the Onyx wizards say too, which is more of the ice is melting. All of it feels like an allegory to
climate change. Yeah.
Right? Like the ice is melting and that's bad, and we got to figure out what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this ice storm is kind of a symptom of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so they head over to this second maiden fort, and this feels like a fun little divergent scene. It just feels like this kind of, we step out into this kind of goofy like pirate moment.
Yeah.
Where
there's
they
like
meet up.
The moment of like boat tension, and like, are they gonna make it? There's a crazy door, and then they turn the corner, and it's like the sea's kind of calm.
Yeah.
The storm starts calming down behind them, and then they're in this bay that is this former prisoner town.
Yeah. And they get these two, Pithy and Brevity, show up on the ship, and they're like, we're going to charge you this exorbitant fee to stay here. And she's like, what is that all about? And then they recognize her first mate, Scorgan.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, hey, I've got your eyeball in a jar. And he's like, everybody's got my eyeball in a jar.
I love it. She's like, awesome. No, but mine's like a match. She's like, I had heterochromia, so no, you don't. And she's like, what? What a strange and lovely detail.
It's amazing to have a character who's super famous, and so people will sell you his eyeball. You want to get, I've got Brad Pitt's eyeball. in a jar. I want that. How much? But like everybody is selling the eyeball. He's famous because he has an eye patch, and everybody claims they've got his eyeball in a jar. It's just a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I get this all the time. People want me to sign the eyeball. It's not real. It's not really my eyeball.
I love it because like you can picture like the shopkeeper, right? Like having it out and be like, this is Scorgan's real eyeball. And like somebody being like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And buying it like 20 minutes later, they're like, pop out another eyeball jar, put it in the window.
Just so
beautiful,
funny.
Beautiful.
Very funny.
Also, who's collecting the eyeballs? Gross. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, and then there's this very interesting moment. Have we heard of Sechck Brullig yet?
I wanted to say yes because I remember the name Sechck, but they made it sound like Sechck was a title.
Sechck is a people.
Oh.
Sechck is a group of people. So I think Sechck Brullig, I think it's like saying, I don't know, American Jeff or Canadian Lana or something like that.
I feel like I remember the word Sechck. And then I think the second name only seemed familiar because I was like, am I just thinking of Bruthen?
I thought the Brullig looked really familiar, but I don't think we've met this person before.
Yeah.
They're the Grand Master of the Putative Assembly. She's like, is that really the word you want to go with? Putative? Which is really a funny moment. And but Shirk's like, oh, I know that person. I know the crime they committed. So it's clearly going to be more to that later. Yeah.
And then that makes me be like, maybe we are forgetting, but whatever.
Well, that's why I was like, she knows them, but do we know that? Is that from Shirk's past? Which I think is what's happening.
How old is Sechck? Like Sechck being like
she was undead. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe not. Maybe she like, if anything, I bet that because she's mentioned several times being like, oh yeah, this person did this in like Shirk's history of in the book where we met her, Midnight Tides.
Yeah,
probably I would bet it's one of those little one-offs of like people that she has recognized for crimes they've done, but I don't know if we've met them.
Interesting. So then we head over to Udnas's point of view, and this is. I love Udnas, and he's just like watching Saren Pedak polish a sword, and he's like, "Does this chick even know what? Like, she's got that sword. She must know. She's got to know what that means. That he gave her his. Is she gonna bury it in front of a house?
I guess she needs a house to bury it, but like."
Like, does she? She's gotta know, right?
Meanwhile, she's like, "What you say?"
And he's listening to the Onyx Wizards chanting, and they're like off key, like wordless. I just get the sense that it's this discordant, awful chanting that just doesn't sound good at all.
I just love that they're either speaking in a language that we truly don't understand, or they really are chanting and they're just so bad at it they can't even keep time.
Yeah. It's very funny.
What a fascinating, like, first you hear like, oh, the Onyx Wizards, whatever their name is, Onyx Order. I don't remember.
They're the Onyx Wizards, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, the Onyx Wizards. You're like, oh, badass. And they're like, yeah, really bureaucratic in there. Really laborious, overlapping, horrible to listen to in every way.
Very funny. And we find out that the Reeve Masters or Rev Masters of Rock, Air, Root, Darkwater, and Night, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a population of only 500, and only 14 of those were pure blood Tistandi. And they're all going crazy because they've not seen the light. They don't see daylight. And so they're just all going nuts and just chanting themselves into a
frenzy.
Exactly.
And they call the sun something funny. They're like the loose star or something like that. Yeah. They're like, the bad one, or very vampiric and weirdo.
Yeah. And Udnas is like, hey Silchus, or no, hey Fear. Silchus and the wizards are just thinking about ways they can murder you. Just be ready for that.
And little then instigator.
Oh, but then there's this weird. I really want to ask Steven about this, because there's this weird, just complete tangential where he's like, here's what might be happening. Can you imagine a hero going to this villain's lair, and like he just like invents a story?
Well,
what was the purpose of this?
This is the thing. It's fear being able to see Udanas in a different light, and like so. They're chanting. What would they chant about? Are they chanting songs? Are they chanting stories? They're probably telling their own stories, and like all the Andy stories are bad. Listening to the chants like that, and it's like, well, the Eater stories are also stupid. And he's like, oh yeah, you think you have better stories? He's like, I would rewrite your stories, and your stories would be better. And he's like, give me a taste. And so I imagine the story that he's telling is like an Edur story, sort of flip, but we haven't heard the Edur story. We're only seeing Udanas's take as like how I would rewrite your stories. And
it's like,
so
it felt to me like Erikson had like an idea for another. He's got so many ideas that he's not any place to put them. He's like, I'm just going to have one character describe a whole book I could have written if I wanted to.
I liked it because to me, like, okay, Fear and Udanas have been on these different pages this entire time. It's only contentious. And it literally was sort of like the verbal equivalent of like, I'm walking in your shoes, or I'm going to force you to walk in my shoes, but I'm telling your story. So it's kind of the reversey. So not only does he get Fear to actually laugh, which is like, okay, you got me there, guy. But then his retelling of the story does seem to have like moments of like, okay, wow, now the Letheras is the hero or whatever. But then it's got a flip side. There's a sour side. But then the sour side, there's a different type of sweetness because, oh, those people can never go outside and never see the sun, but they have a beautiful community. And like, it's like a strange multifaceted look that makes Fear look at Udanas and be like, you are not quite the person that I think you that are. And it's just a little crack in Fear's angst or disregard of Udanas. And so
you're probably right. I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. But it is like quite a long aside.
It's like a wonderful, just tangential walk through but it's an awesome story.
I think I pulled a bunch of it for one of my quotes.
Oh yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah. We'll get to hear it then.
Udanas being like, my brains are so big, that's why I'm a slave.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is a cool moment where he's like, I pegged you wrong. You're real smart. He's like, yeah, that's the whole point of slavery, is to keep the smart people away from the power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Fear is like, hey, I know about the whole thing about Scabandari Blood Eye and his sort of like, we thought he chose to die, right? So we could seek absolution. And my mom told me we weren't supposed to tell any of the boys. That was the secret of the ladies. But she didn't care about any of that. She told us. And I think, honestly, that's part of the reason that Rhulad is so messed up in the head, is because he found out a little too early. Mom told him stuff she shouldn't have told him. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think, and Udanas is like, you know what? I think that's why the crippled god picked him, because he has like the perfect Venn diagram of messed up psyche to be useful for the crippled god.
And youthful ambition. Yeah. Without like any of the humbling that comes with time.
Yeah. He's got the right mixture of fatal flaws.
Yeah. It's not like, the framing of like, oh, it's an accident versus like, Hanan. It was the crippled god saw the greater potential in Rhulad.
Opportunity. Yeah. So then they go in, the Onyx wizards have stopped their chanting. They walk in to find out what they've decided. And then we hop over to Clip's point of view, our friend Clip, who's our disaffected millennial.
Yeah.
Just flipping his watch. Basically the Onyx wizards are like, you're not going to believe this. We actually agreed on something. Never happens.
Pretty rare.
Never happens. What we agreed is you guys need an escort to go find the soul of Scabandari Blood Eye.
Uh-huh.
And you're never going to believe who we picked.
The other named character in the room. Can you believe it?
Look to your left. Look to your right. If you don't see who we picked, then look to your right again because he's standing right there. And they also reveal that Clip was Anomander Rake's mortal sword.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it who is it? Sechck is like him for my brother, and they're
Actually,
like, "You think that's a mismatch?" And he's like, "No, actually, no. That makes a lot of sense."
yeah. It's like from Arrested Development.
Yeah. Egg? Clip? I mean, Clip.
Clip. And there's this notion that there is this spear, which I kind of interpret as being a metaphorical spear, not an actual spear, but maybe it's an actual spear. But there's the shadow of the spear is looming in the ice, but it's melting now. And you've got to go. The spear is kind of aimed at Andara, and it's going to destroy the city if we don't get there first, right? And he's like, the Onyx Wizards say, what you will find when you get to the spear will be unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to change the trajectory of the spear.
Yeah. I couldn't tell if it's metaphorical or magical or what.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we're supposed to know yet.
Yeah.
And Sechck is like, hey, could you stop with the swinging of the chain? And Clip's like, what? What are you talking about? I'm not doing that. So then Sechck comes back to the rest of the group, and he's like, hey, so I found out some news. One of them is that Amtos Flock froze everything, including death itself. People can't die, couldn't get to Hood's Gate. And that's why all the wraiths are around, because nobody could die. Also, Clip's coming with us.
Yeah.
And Fear is like, oh, sweet. Awesome, Clip, dude. Glad to have you. You're going to be great. And Clip's like, you're going to betray all of us. You're a jerk, and I don't like you. And Fear's like, no, buddy. No, I want what you want. I want everybody to be cool and us all to get along. Clip like doesn't even respond. It's just like, pfft. Clip is like the most anime character so far in this entire series.
Yeah, he's got like a bit of JoJo energy. The Jotaro energy.
Yeah.
Definitely. Just like, ugh.
Fear's like, no, everybody should be liberated. And once I'm back and everybody's listening to me, I'm going to argue for that. I really am. I am. I really think everybody should be free. That's what I think. And if you think that I don't think that, you're wrong, because I think that. And Clip is like, and Saren Pedak is like, just stop.
I love this whole group of people who just hate each other.
Yeah.
They just hate each other.
And I love how Fear just constantly is the most gullible. Like, he's just so, what's the word? He's just so earnestly wrong all the time,
Yeah. Which is like, casts him in an interesting light from when we first meet him, which is the extremely competent older brother who knows best.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Then we head over to the Aldan with Brol Handar and Antipreda Bivat. Said that. I nailed it.
Atri Preda Bivat.
Thank you. You don't even have it in front of you, and you said it right. I'm reading it, and I can't get it right. Anyway, they're trying to figure out what to do about basically the Red Mask problem. And Brol is like, I don't even like riding horses. This sucks. I don't want to be here. And he's kind of messing with her, and they're talking about letter Anict, and he's like, hey, I'm only here because he's gonna pay the fees of everybody. It's all just financial. And she's like, liar, you liar. Why are you lying to me? Don't lie to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no. Letter Edict is corrupt. And we gotta, he's like, we gotta take him down, right? And I love how this all plays out, because then the next scene, she flashes back to Letter Edict, like saying he was going to say what we just saw him say.
Was that a flashback?
I believe so. I believe she walks away and is like, dude, I remember I hung out with the Factor and he called this. He specifically knew exactly what this dude was going to say.
Yeah.
And he was so right. And he's 3 steps ahead of all of this.
Yeah. I recall.
Yeah. And this idiot thinks that he's like smug and thinks that he's got it all figured out, but he's being played. The Factors knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even realize he's in danger. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Then we cut over to Tahan and as he's now being called, because he's in an Aster's body. And he and Red Mask are having a real get to know you convo. Red Mask is like, you have gone insane.
He's like, that's what happens when you strap it in the peepees.
Yeah.
you
like,
stay sane.
Am I crazy, or am I crazy like a fox / wolf gods?
that old phrase.
That old chestnut.
Yeah.
But he's like, why are those all children singing while they put beads on strings? And he's like, well, that's how we tell our stories. He's like, but they ain't no words in them songs. It can't be stories. It's like, oh no, the story, that words will trick you. That's why we don't use words, because the song can be true and the words can be corrupted. So I thought it was just this awesome philosophical debate.
Yeah. And Talk being like, yeah, words can be adaptable so that you can make sure that it still has meaning. He's like, but it's not about being adaptable. It's not about resisting change. Interesting.
It really felt resonant in this post-truth world that we seem to be entering, where, the Clean Air Act can be the thing that dirties the air.
Yeah.
It just felt like that's exactly what he's describing,
Yep.
I also love the moment where he's like, Togs, teats. He's like, but Tog.
He explains the phrases.
Boy dog. He's like, yeah. So his teats are useless. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's like, what about Hood's breath? Yeah. Hood don't have no breath.
Same.
Barrow's mercy, not merciful.
Yeah.
I just love they literally explain all the curses. It's just so great. It's like, yeah, it's irony.
And he's like, don't like that. Yeah. Seems bad.
That's the great line, is like, well, if none of the gods are helpful, why do you worship them? He's like, think of how unhelpful they would be if we didn't worship them.
Yeah. I love that line.
It's so good. And then they talk about how Red Mask saw the fact that the wolves ate just the hearts of the dead gray swords. And Talk's like, I didn't know that.
Interesting.
And he's like, all right, Talk, I'll give you a choice. I'll either let you go right now, or you can become a soldier. He's like, ugh, I've already been a soldier.
Yeah,
been there, done that.
Because he says something like, you clearly have been a soldier, so you can join this army that I'm building.
Yes. And he's like, I'll tell you what, I will stay and be a soldier with you, and I'll teach you about the Malazan army. Have you heard of the Malazans? He's like, not familiar with that. He's like, oh boy. Well, I got quite a lot that I can tell you about how they wage war.
And I love this because, it's been a while since we've been with Malazans, well, in this
Yeah.
book, straight
Well,
up.
this book, not at all. We haven't checked in
Yeah.
with the Bone Hunters at all. Yeah.
And when we're with them, we're like, yeah, these are armies, they're moving, there's plans, blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah.
being on this continent, the fact that talk is like, you want to make like a formal, like military, like a regimented, you're about to change the face of this world in a way you have no idea. Let me show you how.
So good. Yeah. He's like, you're going to turn these shepherds into a trained, regimented army. Bad. Yeah. It's gonna mess some stuff up.
Yeah. People don't even know what's coming.
You're so good to bring that up because you're right. I thought that was an amazing moment. And he's like, and I think, he's like, Malazan, I'm not familiar with that tribe. He's like, not a tribe, an empire.
Yeah. And like putting it in contrast like that.
Yeah.
It's because we've seen crazy battles over here and just knowing it's like, yeah, that's all just raw power.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
Right.
I love that this distinction is built because then if you take this land of raw power and formalize it into something as powerful as like a well-oiled machine, like an army, whew, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So good. And I love how he's like, well, I guess I can come up with a song, a Malazan song to teach you how to do it. A dirge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how chapter 8 ends. I thought these were pretty cool chapters. Nothing huge happening, right? We're just still sort of building the tension, building this anticipation of Icarium arriving, all that stuff of like how big a deal it is, all the gods noticing.
Yeah.
The other thing we forgot to mention was that, who was it? Somebody, was it Saren Pedak? Somebody was like, I know that gods walk among the people there in Letheras.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting.
I think it might have been Saren.
Yeah.
Somebody
pointed
Terralac?
it out. No, I thought it was a female character.
I think so too. Must have been Saren.
Yeah.
No, what's her name? Samar.
Yeah, you're right. It was Samar talking to Karsa and saying, here's the weird thing about Letheras that I know is that gods walk around. And I was like, oh yeah, so that's the errant and Bugg and she knows. Yeah. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, so this like anticipation is happening, which I think is really, really fun. And I'm super into this novel. I'm super into it. The only stuff that I'm kind of don't have a handle on still is the patriotists and all of the what's his name? The guy with the 2-headed insect.
Karsa and Bugg.
Tahal? Yeah. No, yes.
That's Karos who does the trap stuff.
Yeah.
The little puzzles.
Yeah.
He's like, my brain is so big. Nobody can stop me.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what their angle is quite yet, but maybe.
I think their angle is just like the Edur. I think they took us over.
Yeah, we're going to wipe them out.
I don't even think it's that we're going to wipe them out. It's that, I mean, that was the other thing that I don't think we really touched on is because like the reason that they strategically brought up the fact that, there might be dissent among the Edur is being like, so far they've let us continue to punish and torture the Letheras people. They've now given us permission to expand that to the Edur. So they're basically looking to continue to enslave them, make indebted out of this whole other people. Whereas before their power was limited because they're like, oh, thank you, sire. Now it's like, you gave us the ability to punish your people. This is this is true power. This is true domination.
I'll tell you the one thing that I'm really hoping will happen. I have this very big desire to see Icarium's machine put back together.
Oh, me too.
I hope that him showing up in town means the energy or whatever the missing piece. Like I want to see that thing work.
Is it going to be the combination? I mean, to me, Samar being this machine maker / witch,
Yes.
I think possibly
Yes.
could have some
Interesting.
energy there.
Ooh, doggies. All right. Well, we got
Mhm.
some sections to read. I have 2.
I have several more, but let me
I have
find.
one long and one short.
Um.
You're more than welcome to start.
Uh.
Or I can if you're taking a second.
One second. I had some that I highlighted because I was like, pretty good. Oh, I felt okay. I have a long one. You do yours first because they might be the same long one.
Mine is this feather witch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. The only detail that had come to fascinate Featherwitch among all these pathetic creatures was the bewildering array of gods, goddesses, spirits, and ascendants they worshipped. Prayers in a dozen languages, voices reaching out into vast silences. All these forlorn fools and all the unanswered calls for salvation. No end in that huge, chaotic world to the delusions of those who believed they were chosen. Unique among their kind, basking beneath the gaze of gods that gave a damn, as if they would, when the truth was, each immortal visage, for all its peculiar traits, was but a facet of one, and that one had long since turned away, only to fight an eternal battle against itself. From the heavens, only indifference rained down, like ash, stinging the eyes, scratching raw the throat. There was no sustenance in that blinding deluge. Chosen? Now there was a conceit of appalling proportions. Either we all are, or none of us are. And if the former, then we all will face the same judge, the same hand of justice, the wealthy, the indebted, the master, the slave, the murderer and the victim, the raper and the raped. All of us. So pray hard, everyone, if that helps, and look well to your own shadow. More likely, in her mind, no one was chosen, and there was no day of judgment awaiting every soul. Each and every mortal faced a singular end, and that was oblivion.
Beautiful. Beautifully
So good.
read.
Thank you.
Also, my internet dropped for a second. Can you just
Yeah.
make sure that this is good?
It says it's still going, and I see your
Everything.
everything.
Okay.
So I think we're good. Yeah, I
Okay.
saw it that happen, and I freaked out for a moment. But
Okay.
I think we're okay.
So the piece, the one that I'm going to read, is of Fear and Udanas chatting to one another. This is after Udanas tells this whole story. Now I understand, Fear murmured, his arms crossed. Understand what? Why Rhulad so valued you, Udanas. You were wasted scraping fish scales all day, when by the measure of your intelligence and your vision, you could sit tall on any kingdom's throne. The slave's grin was hard with malice. Damn you, Fear Sengar. How did that offend you? You just stated the central argument, both for and against the institution of slavery. Well, I was wasted, was I? Or of necessity kept under firm heel? Too many people like me on the loose, and no ruler, tyrant or otherwise, could sit assured on a throne. We would stir things up again and again. We would challenge, we would protest, we would defy. By being enlightened, we would cause utter mayhem. So, Fear, kick another basket of fish over here. It's better for everyone. Except you. No, even me. This way, all my brilliance remains ineffectual, harmless to anyone, and therefore especially to myself, lest my lofty ideas loose a torrent of blood. Serenpetic granted. You are frightened by your own ideas, Udanas? All the time, Aquater. Aren't you? Love that
good.
one.
That's
Love
really
that
good.
one.
Yeah. You better keep me bottled up, because if you don't, I might
Watch
start
it.
thinking real good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I have just a single sentence that I thought was very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Shirkalale glared across at her first mate, but, like most men, he was impervious to such nonverbal warnings.
Yeah.
It's just like, "Mm."
Stop talking.
And he's like, idiot man.
Yeah.
I relate.
I'll also end on the fun one that I mentioned earlier. Clearly all the once... Oh, this is Tahal chatting with Ublala and Bugg. Clearly all the once finely honed edges of my intellect have worn off of late. Then his expression brightened. But now I have a tutor. Referencing Janal, who is unconscious and naked and abused.
Nearly dead.
Tahal,
buddy, read the room.
A victim of the patriotists, Bugg said, eyeing Ublala askance as he made his way over to the pot on the hearth. Abyss below, master. This barely passes as muddy water. I, alas, in dire need of your culinary magic. The patriotists? You broke her out of prison? In a manner of speaking, I do not anticipate a citywide manhunt, however. She was to have been one of the ones who simply vanished. Ublala Pung grunted a laugh. They'd never find her if it was a manhunt. The other two men looked across at him. The half-blood Tarthanol gestured at the obvious. Look, she's got breasts and stuff.
That's so good. So good. The profound and the hilarious side by side. That's why I love these
Malazan in a
novels.
nutshell.
That's it. Okay, folks. So again, reiterating the unfortunate news that we are taking 2 weeks off because of travel and scheduling issues. Apologize for that, but hang with us. We'll be back. Don't fear not. Fear Sengar not. We'll be back. And please take the opportunity to send us a fun non-spoiler topic question. That would be a great way to spend our time coming up with some fun new questions. DLCfeedback@gmail.com. Please enjoy the next couple of weeks. We will miss you way more than you miss us, I guarantee. Dance it out.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club.